Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you're joining us from. I just give a couple of minutes for everyone to trickle in. Okay, I guess most of you are coming in. We'll get started. Again, hi everyone. I'm Megha Chaudhary. I head Global Marketing and Alliance at the host company C5i. Welcome and thank you for attending the LinkedIn Live on a peek under the hood best practices from C5i on building a GenAI COE. This is our first event with our rebranded avatar C5i under C5i Compass GenAI series. This session will focus on the importance of establishing a dedicated center of excellence to unlock the full potential of generative AI for transformative change and innovation within an organization. I just mentioned C5i rebranding. Since the time we started planning this webinar, we've had a major development. Our company has had a brand refresh, and I'm pleased to share our new brand name is C5i, an abbreviation of our company name, Course 5 Intelligence. It's crisp and contemporary and continues to reflect our focus on enabling trustworthy intelligence and driving impact through our analytics, data, and AI solutions. Our new logo represents multidimensional perspectives that define everything we do. Our work involves integrating multiple dimensions of data, technology, methodologies, business context, and human expertise. Converging with the logo, our new tagline is Human AI Impact, which encapsulates our deepest aspiration to drive exponential business and societal impact through a combination of human perspective and AI technology. I will now play a brief video to introduce you to our new brand avatar.
This is a square. Or is it? The universe of data is multidimensional. Diverse data sources, various methodologies, various data science techniques, and evolving business complexities. How do we use AI effectively and navigate the pitfalls? Human perspective combined with machine intelligence makes all the difference. And when they all come together, the big picture emerges and leads to business impact. And that's what inspired our new brand identity. We are C5i, led by human perspective and powered by artificial intelligence. We operate a multidimensional approach to data, science, and business. At C5i, we leverage our experience in AI technologies, diverse methodologies, data science and engineering, and advanced analytics capabilities to look at the challenges from different angles, add a fresh lens to unlock potential, and change our point of view to identify new opportunities. Because every perspective adds depth to our understanding. The convergence of human ingenuity and application of science drives adoption and creates sustainable impact.
Awesome. Now that you've seen our rebranded avatar, a little bit about C5i. C5i is a pure play AI and analytics provider that combines the power of human perspectives with AI technology to deliver trustworthy intelligence. The company drives value through a comprehensive solution set, integrating multifunctional teams that have technical and business domain expertise with a robust suite of platforms, solutions, and accelerators tailored for various horizontal and industry specific use cases. At the core, C5i's focus is to deliver business impact at speed and scale by driving adoption of AI assisted decision making. Now, let's turn to the housekeeping items. A recording of this LinkedIn webinar will be available on LinkedIn page for those who have registered for the live. We will send a webinar recording and a post webinar summary highlighting all the key takeaways. We will have 15 minutes dedicated to Q&A towards the end, but you can post your questions anytime during the webinar in the comment section. If you do not get answered during the webinar, we will definitely send you the responses, or please send us your questions at scalewithgenai@c5i.ai. We have a time frame of 45 minutes, and we hope you'll stay with us through the webinar. Now let's move on to our presenters for today. Let me introduce you to Anis Merchant and Sushant Ajmani. Anis Merchant is EVP Innovation and Consulting at C5i. Anis leads the global innovation and consulting business. He has guided sizable digital transformation initiatives for numerous global Fortune 500 clients across various industries. Anis's current role chiefly involves guiding platform innovation, setting the go to market strategy, and building the strategic partner ecosystem. Hey, Anis, welcome.
Thanks, Mega.
And now Sushant Ajmani, he's Vice President for Generative AI. Sushant is a seasoned digital analytics professional who has been working in the industry for over 23 years. He has worked with over 180 plus global brands in banking, insurance, retail, CPG, and media domains across 17 plus countries. Currently, he's driving the generative AI practice at C5i. Now, welcome, Sushant. And without further ado, I want to dive straight in and get the floor going. So, Anis, I want to get started with you. Uh, why the Gen AI COE? We already have and understand that there's an AI lab present at C5i. So, what was the need of Gen AI COE?
No, that's a good question to start off with, right? We've been talking about our AI labs for quite a bit time, and there's been a lot of innovation coming from that stable, and we continue to harness the power of our AI lab and which the strategy which we put about 7 to 8 years ago. So, Mega, today, one of the key thing which is happening, and it's fascinating to me personally, what's happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks. The kind of pace of innovation and the pace of technology acceleration, and in addition to all the conversation about how the new technology is going to be disruptive, it's important to go ahead and bring to bear, and that's what we set it up about a year and a half ago, that we need a specific domain area uh, which goes ahead and tackles and understands and stays ahead of the curve rather than being behind. AI lab continues to exist. It continues to be the critical facet. There was a very interesting article which Gartner recently posted also, that when you think about GenAI is not the answer for everything, but it is one of the critical technology. You have Gen AI, you know you have the large language models. So let's talk a little bit about that. You have the large language models, then you have the classic machine learning techniques, you have data, you have technology, you have your software engineering, you have all of these facets need to come and deliver. And but LLMs today are becoming the new business operating language for an organization. And with the new business operating language, and with the new dimensions which are coming in, which are enabling businesses to really leverage the power. That's why we set up that COE, and we'll go a little bit deeper into what that COE is all about through this conversation. But that COE is helping us define what it means for C5I, what it means for our clients, what it means for the society at large, and how does this new language, this new premise incorporates with the larger other aspects. And definitely AI lab, which is our one of our key piece, is at the forefront of it, which is enabling all the innovation which we are driving, is going to be leading that charter along with Sushant. But the idea is that COE brings a very different dimension to this entire aspect. So you will hear more of that, and in fact, I think there is in fact a slide which we have put together which gives a visual representation of a COE. So why don't we bring that up? And if you think about our COE, and Sushant will go a little bit deeper, but it is a multi-layered COE, in addition to with certain foundational elements being critical to the entire process, right, of the COE. So I'll let Sushant cover this slide, what this COE is all about. So Sushant, I'll let you come in here. and talk about the way the COE is constructed. But this is key for people to understand that AI Lab is there in the back, but this is how
Right.
we are set up the COE to drive the COE charter for and the GenAI charter for C5i. So Shant?
Yeah, sure, Anis. I'm so glad to be here. Uh, so I think, Anis, you have set a very nice precedence around our vision behind bringing the whole center of excellence as one of the key charter as we are embarking on our generative AI journey. And over the last few months, we have spent quite a lot of time thinking about that how to put the strict governance around our generative AI charters. Whenever we think about the term COE, I think the first word that always comes in the mind is governance. What we have brought is with this new logo that we have come up with, a new dimension to the whole COE aspect, which we call as innovation also, the creative aspect, bringing human in the loop also as part of our Center of Excellence initiative. So as you can see, it's like the triangular structure that we have put in here in the slide. On the top, you see there is a AI epics body and followed by the AI Core Council and the subcommittee. So these are the three distinct bodies that we have defined as part of our COE charter. And each body has its own function, its own set of accountabilities, its own set of responsibilities. Okay. What you see on the top, the apex body that comprises of our senior leadership, the thought leaders in the industry who have spent years, decades and decades working on some of the large enterprise challenge problems. And then on the middle, you see the core council, which is focusing on the next set of leaders, the practitioners who are living and breathing data every day, who are working with the clients on the consulting aspect, to working with the client on the sales enablement, to working with the client in solving some of the key problems around supply chain, problems around customer experience. And then you see the team, the subcommittee at the bottom, which is our the front runner team, who is taking all the inspiration from the apex body, the core council, and actually ensuring that everything that we deliver to our clients on the front line is ethical, it's explainable, and it's being compliant. It's compliant with the data privacy guidelines. Combined together, this is what we call it as a center of excellence practice that we have put in place. And I think there is a lot of background noise, Mika. I don't know from where is it coming.
Oh, is it?
Okay, I can hear kids. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and if you see at the bottom, we are talking about some of the foundational initiatives, which is the core that really makes us really distinctive when we are trying to bring COE in the context of our AI lab. As I talked about that, when we talk about COE, the first word comes to mind is a governance, but what we are talking here is the innovation. So what we have done at C5 is we have set up an innovation garage. What this garage is facilitating is it's giving a conducive environment to all the C5 employees, which I also call C5 pioneers. Each and every pioneer has an opportunity to bid for some of the new age ideas. Why just few people in the company participate in ideation? Why not all the 1,000 employees gets exposed to work on new age ideas? Why only selective people get to know about LLMs or get to know about some of the new age innovation? So we have made this portal, made it live for everyone to come, create new ideas, bid for ideas, and be a part of our innovation journey. And by the way, innovation is also one of our key core values of C5. Responsible AI framework, there's a lot of buzz that's happened over the last few quarters. And without the ethical practices, without the proper risk frameworks, without compliance with the local data protection policies, whether it's California laws, whether it is GDPR, whether it's EU laws, everyone has to make sure whatever we do, our employees are cognizant about that. The learning tracks, without learning and development, nothing is going to work it out. So we have a very holistic and very comprehensive L&D charter put in place as part of our COE initiatives, so that not just our operational teams but our enabling function teams also get an opportunity to get to learn the basics around that how generative AI ecosystem works. And of course, as people are learning, they should be incentivized, they should be accredited. So everyone who's working on this journey and embarking on this journey with us, honing new skills, we are making sure they get certified by the renowned bodies so that it increases their market value. It gives them the sense of accomplishment. Yeah, over to you, Meg.
Perfect. That's very, very helpful, Sushant. You've very nicely explained, what our COE body consists of and what are the foundation initiatives we as an organization took. I'll pose another question to you, which is on the same lines. What are the foundational initiatives other organizations can take, similar to what we have done when they want to kickstart their Gen AI journey? So I'm guessing they will be similar, but every organization is different. So what should be the core basic foundational initiatives?
Sure. See, so Megha, this is a very interesting question because lately what we are seeing is that all the large enterprise clients that we work with, or who are, I would say, the early adopters of the generative AI wave, the three core expectations that comes in every conversation. Number one is scale. Okay. Whatever we are working on, is it really scalable? Can we take these proof of concepts and experiments to the next level and make it org wide? Number two, does it really generate a business impact? Or are we just testing the waters out? Okay. And the third piece, which is coming in every discussion, is around privacy. Okay, because especially some of the large pharma companies that we work with, large telecom, the large companies in the banking space, which are very particular about being compliant with the local data protection policies, being compliant with the new framework that regulators are putting in different countries. So when we talk about the COE from an org perspective, what we want that every company who's putting their COE framework, they can definitely take some of the inspiration from the framework that we just talked about, because that framework is not just our framework. That framework is built by taking learnings from some of the large Fortune 1000 companies that we work with, that how they operate, how they take decisions based on data, what kind of a data laws that they are compliant with, how they manage the data. So two things I would definitely say: invest heavily in learning and development. Without that, nothing is going to work it out. And number two is be very, very cognizant about the data loss, because encryptions, role-based access controls, and also the single sign-on aspect, all these are very small things, but it plays a very important role to ensure that the data is protected while your employees are doing the experimentations. Yeah.
Thank you, Sushant. That's very helpful. Obviously, we've taken learnings, and I'm sure through this webinar, many people can take our learnings to see how they want to implement GenAI COE at their organization. Anis, I'll ask you this question. How do you measure the effectiveness of COE once the COE is set up? How would you measure the effectiveness?
Now, the holy grail question, right? Effectiveness of any AI initiative. So, when we talk, and in fact, in our tagline, it says human AI and impact, right? And the impact is a big piece for us as a company, and big piece in everything we do as an organization. So when we set up the COE, and when we talk to our other clients who are trying to set up a COE, impact is measured in three dimensions largely, in terms of how we put it together. The first one is definitely revenue, and when we talk about it from a C5i perspective, how is it influencing revenue for C5i? How is it able to go ahead and enhance the revenue portfolio of C5i? So that's the revenue dimension. But if you are a company who's thinking about setting up a COE, which is an enterprise customer, you should also think about it from a C5i perspective, like how would any of these COE initiatives will yield a revenue outcome, which can be increase in revenue or increase the quality of the revenue. It can be both ways. The second dimension of impact which we look at is cost. Now, cost has sub dimensions. One is cost avoidance, and the second is cost savings, right? So there is two different things which you can actually measure. which we are measuring, and we are seeing a lot of benefit in this dimension. That today, for example, it would have taken me X hours or X people. I'm able to do it efficiently by using some of the Gen AI initiatives. So there's cost savings. And the third piece, which is not a dollar amount, is an experience. Now, this can be an employee experience, it can be a shareholder experience, or a stakeholder within the company or external, or it can be a customer experience or your consumer experience. That's the third dimension of impact. And that's what we look at. Experience with GenAI can be a little bit more profound, because today, using LLMs, you can have a bot agent who's having a conversation, but this is a virtual conversation, which is an experience altogether. A simple thing, right? An employee who's come in, every company has barrage of HR policies. That it may take them to do a PhD to do an HR policy review, right? Every company has it. Even our company has it today. For an employee to just ask these basic questions, okay, what entitlements do I have from a leave, from a travel, from a expense claim? They will have to read through the fine prints, and there are fine prints to fine prints. Every policies have that. But if you have a bot and an agent, which is a virtual agent, which is having this conversation with the person who's joined in, a new employee, it's a beautiful experience. Hey, I got my answer, right? I don't have to read through 20 PDFs or 20 documents and find that information or ask an HR person. If you think about it, it's an experience for an employee, but it's also significant time saving for an employee who was looking for that information. And more importantly, it's for time savings for and it's cost avoidance for our HR team, who's basically going ahead and spending time answering these basic queries. So if you apply that lens, which I just gave, revenue, cost, and experience, experience may not show up direct, but it has an indirect impact to both cost and revenue over a period of time. You can actually start measuring the impact and the efficacy of your COE initiative. So that's where, and as an organization, we are measuring it. That's how I have put Sushan on the hook, that these are the three parameters of the COE which we need to measure, and we'll continue to measure, and we'll continue to see how the overall impact of the COE is working for us.
Perfect. At the end, it's about speed and scale as well. So I'm pretty sure we're hitting those points. Great. Since Sushant is on the spot here, Sushant, can you share the various roles in GenAI governance body, and what kind of skills and experience they bring to the table? You did touch upon it a little bit in the beginning, but can you elaborate more?
Yeah, sure, definitely. See, we have multiple roles that we have put in place. So what I'll do is I'll start from the top down. So on the top, we have our senior leadership. Okay. These are the people who have two major tasks on their shoulders, though they have multiple things. Considering the sensitivity of the time, I'll pick some of the key aspects here. Their main purpose is to ensure that whatever practices that we are bringing on the board, there is a proper sense of accountability being reinstated in the company. People should be very clear what they are accountable for and what they are responsible for. So to enforce that is very, very much important. Number two is making sure that responsible AI practices are well executed and well operationalized across the board. And as Anis mentioned about the three main metrics, which is around the revenue, the cost, and the experience, they are also holding us accountable on those front basis when we have our regular checkpoints. So we have fortnightly checkpoints, we have monthly checkpoints, depending on in which layer you belong to. So as a part of a practice head, I have to present to the apex body once every month the entire status of what we have accomplished in the last 30 days and what is our plan for the next 30 days. And I need to do my homework really thoroughly when I go and present to them. Then we have our Gen AI Council, which is the middle layer. There we have a bunch of practitioners. Okay, we have very consciously picked certain key individuals in the council layer because this is the thought leadership layer. This is a layer who's going to be the future brand ambassadors of our GenAI based initiatives. We have consultants who bring more than 20, 30 years of experience solving some of the big problems in the industry. We have operational delivery heads who have solved some big complex problems for our clients, delivered multi-million dollar large scale programs, protecting our margins and delivering a high efficiency to our clients. And the third layer is we also have some of our sales and account management individuals who are very close to the customers, who are very empathetic. They know the pulse of the market, they're capturing the trends. Okay. And then we have some of our domain experts. Okay. These are the guys from the AI labs, the folks from our advanced analytics teams. And then at the bottom, the frontline team that we call the subcommittee, there we have the folks who are living and breathing data every day. They are the one who are taking the inspiration from the apex body, council body, taking all that learnings on the floor, and they play a very instrumental role is close feedback loop, that how our employees are experiencing these new practices, how our employees are experiencing the new age innovation charter we're doing. Because if we are not listening our employees, our workforce, who are the major experiences, then this whole governance goes for a toss. So this close feedback loop enablement is very, very important for us to make sure that every practice gets rolled out effectively. Yeah.
And Megha, I'll
Perfect.
just
That's
add to what
Yeah.
Megha, I'll just add to what Sushant mentioned. You spoke about the KPIs. The three
right.
KPIs which I spoke of, revenue, cost, and experience, is fundamentally applicable for everyone. Because if we all keep the larger goal in mind, there are some other KPIs also, right? But to keep it simple here, those are the three fundamental KPIs everybody is monitoring. And those are the larger goals, right? That's the lighthouse KPIs that if we can't achieve them, then anything we are doing in GenAI is, we are just doing a science project, which is not benefiting the humanity, which is not benefiting the organization, which is not benefiting our clients. There is enough science projects out there. We don't want to get into all of them. We don't want to compete in all of them. What we want to focus on, what matters, what impact can we deliver, right? So that's why those three KPIs are fundamental. They are lighthouse. There are other KPIs each of the committee or each of the council members have, but these are the three fundamental. Like we live and breathe them every day.
I completely echo your sentiments, Anis. Being part of GenAI COE team myself, I know how much brainstorming we do, how much we hold these KPIs, and how different perspectives all come in together when we get on that one call of brainstorming. So, Anis, since you're leading innovation at C5i, I want to ask you this question: what role does the governance body play in driving innovation?
Uh, it's a very something which we've been talking about. See, innovation today is not a one person's job, which Sushant also spoke of, right? Uh, we are infusing that, we are enabling and we are incentivizing every person in the team. And when I say team, I look at entire C5i to come together to provide those ideas and those thoughts. So it is not that a individual just responsible or a team. So and we want to bring in a disparate set of ideas because we are a pretty diverse organization. We don't want one stream or one gender, one race, or one uh, I would say a client group or an organization group or even one country providing those innovation ideas, right? We truly want ideas coming from the global aspect. And if you see, the construct of our council is also very unique. Uh, One is that, which is how do we bring the disparate thought. The second is, more importantly, is that we can have thousands of ideas, but how do you prioritize? And we have a prioritization framework, which is a key piece, which the innovation body or the GenAI council is actually looking at. Because if I have, I often give this example, whether it is GenAI or AI at large, don't treat that as a hammer. And you have a hammer now in the hand, which everybody is treating. Okay, now I have a hammer. Let's bang every wall, because the wall may not need a fixing with a hammer. It may need a fixing with just basic scotch tape, right? A hammer may not be required at all. But to the point is that, when you think about prioritization, we're also looking at whether it's the right fitment to go through the process. And we actually use the principle of a product lifecycle principles to go ahead and, an idea gets validated, then you basically come up with a prototype, then you do an MVP, then you go ahead and do a market fitment, and then you scale it up to back to that scale question, right? It needs to go through these points, right? If you say, hey, I love your idea, I love your face, I love your thinking, let's go ahead and scale it, it's not going to work. You need to go through a set process. You need to make it go through a cycle. And there are certain people who need to play that role within an organization, including our customers, have to play that role for us to scale it up also. It's not that individual effort. So, how do you bring that cross functional team with the ideas validated? How do you build those right prototypes? How do you keep the experience in mind? And then you go ahead and scale it up. There was a very interesting conversation I was having with another customer, and we actually gave this reference. You can ping, and in fact, this came from one of our colleagues who actually bought this reference, and it's top of my mind, and I'll share it here. You can have the best racer car which is running on your racetracks, but if you don't have the best pit stop to ensure when the car is burning out its tires to go ahead and fix those tires, you're really going to have a crash with your car, right? So keeping these basic things, right? We can have the best car, but if we can't have the best pit stop to take care of it, you are going to have a crash, big time, right? I don't know if anybody. I recently saw this movie Ferrari,
Oh yeah.
and it's gross. Some of the scenes, right? Sorry, I'm bringing that reference, but it's an amazing premise which I'm talking about, right? The how these pit stops really matter to your race.
Yeah. And along with pit stop, people who are changing those wheels, their speed 100% matters. So
Yeah.
perfect. I think next question I'll ask you, Sushant. What kind of Gen AI L&D curriculum do you have in place, and what areas are you putting a higher emphasis on?
Sure. I think this question gets asked multiple times, even by our own employees also. See, these the curriculum is not just restricted to few courses that people have to do. Uh, I believe in a disciplined, well planned day, and there are four aspects I'll talk about. When we talk about L&D curriculum, we have certain courses which are focusing on prompt engineering. We have courses on how to do some basic development on Python. We have courses around how to leverage the APIs of the LLMs. We have courses around how to even build and leverage the APIs, because a lot of employees have to invest heavily on leveraging these APIs. People should have a good understanding of not just the closed source models like your GPTs of the world, but they should also be cognizant about what's happening in the open source world, what's Llama is doing, how Falcon is working, what's the other models like BERT. So all these aspects also have to be ingrained into the system. But one very important aspect that oftentimes companies ignore is the data. Ultimately, everything boils down to the data. So we have a big data engineering team here at C5, and that's always been our core, the data engineering. Because without having a smarter semantic layer, nothing is going to work. So just like in the older days, whenever we used to build the dashboards, we used to build a whole semantic data layer for every dashboard. Same philosophy applies here. If you want to leverage the best out of your LLMs, you need to have a very strong data engineering practice. So we have a lot of tailored made courses for our data engineers on how to build those LLM adaptable semantic data layers, how to process your data smartly. So these are some of the courses. But beyond that, Omega, we want our employees to be cognizant about some of the major events which are happening. Okay, like OpenAI Dev Day, very well crafted event that every employee has to take participate in, enjoy those videos. Okay, we have Ignite events from Microsoft, we have Apple WWDC events, we have Google Next event, we have Nvidia events. All these events are full of so much precious knowledge that talks about not just the latest age innovation, but some of the philosophies of these companies. What are some of the practices that they're taking? There are some amazing podcasts that we talk about for our employees that listen these podcasts from Fifi, podcast from Andrej Kalpathy, the podcast from Lex Friedman, some of the big influencers in the industry who are talking about this for ages. Okay. And then we have the proper discipline that when you start your day, so we all tell our employees that start your day, go to the website like TechCrunch, go to Informationist, go to websites like TechStage, okay, go to websites like Forbes, and just look what are some of the new articles, what are some of the new developments happening in the industry. So not just restrict yourself to few courses on Coursera or few courses on O'Reilly, few courses on LinkedIn, just widen your horizon. Okay, follow the influencers in different places because they are doing a lot of research, and just see how you can leverage that research back into their day-to-day life. Yeah.
Great, Sushant. That's really, really helpful. And it partly addresses one of the questions I just saw that has come in from the audience. Sharik actually asked, and you've kind of mentioned that. Maybe you can reiterate some of the points. Can you elaborate on the methods employed to foster a culture of continuous learning within GenAI COE, particularly considering the rapidly evolving nature of AI technologies and methodologies? You spoke about different courses, but we would love to. The culture is so important, right? That learning culture. So, do you want to shed some more light on that?
Yeah, sure, sure. I think the changes are happening so rapidly almost every week, thanks to our friend Sam Altman, who's bringing innovation. Every other few weeks, we see some new model has come up. GPT-4, GPT-4o, GPT-5 is going to come, Llama 3 has come, and I think there's so much action happening. So I think one thing I always tell my team also, that don't get too overwhelmed. Okay, I think we have to take it a little bit slowly and start with the basics first. Okay, start with just basic prompt engineering. Learn how to build proper prompts, how to curate them. Try to learn differentiate between what is hallucination, what is not hallucination. Okay, people talk a lot about that, but sometimes just when you run the prompts, try to understand what kind of output you are getting, try to decipher the meaning of those particular pieces. Just there are some very interesting courses on prompt engineering on Coursera also. I think there's a one course from Northwestern University on Coursera. I would highly recommend do that. Apart from that, I tell everyone, go to some of these open source websites like Hugging Face. They have some amazing open source models over there with a lot of tutorials, lot of benchmarks that against which these models have been validated against. Look at different parameters that these models have been tuned on. Just learn from those experiences. Learn, because ultimately it's all about experience. Make this whole learning journey and experience, enjoy this space. And the third piece is, which is my closer to my heart, is that follow a daily discipline. Take out at least 1 hour of your time every day in the morning looking at what are the latest trends in the industry. Because if people are not having this discipline of following the trends, you would feel like left out. You feel overwhelming after certain 3 months or 5 months. If you just start looking at what's happening around you, you would feel like you just left behind in this race. Okay, so it's a mix and match. I think I'm sure Anis has
Completely.
some of his own experiences. He's an idea man. Always keep his library of ideas and keep on tossing at me. Anis, I'd love to hear what your perspective here is.
No, so I'm fortunate and unfortunately not a technician or a technology trained person, right? So what I try to do, Sushant, since you've put me on the spot, is I try to make it very dumb proof with every new technology which comes in. I try to see how either it will simplify my life or my clients or my employee life, right? And I like what you said. I try to use every new piece of technology.
Anis, we are not.
Anis, we lost you for a second.
I was not. We were not able to access it because it needed an Indian credit card, especially the paid version. The free version was available, and within 24 hours, OpenAI fixed it, and I was the first person to swipe my credit card and use the paid version, right? So I I'm not recommending that everybody starts paying for these tools. That's not my intention. But you have to burn your fingers and burn your hands, right? But even with my uh, travel and with my work and everything, to Sushant's point, you have to have certain discipline, and you need to incorporate learning. And I always say you have to learn. That's a critical skill we all have to adopt every day today, and that's fundamental today. How can you learn to learn? Because if you can't do that, then you're not going to be successful in the long run. So yeah, that's my only perspective, Mega and Sushant.
Great perspectives. And Sushant, thank you for all those cues. I'm going to definitely take up on some of those prompt engineering courses, not being a technical person, but I think, I'm pretty sure the audience is also going to, take a note of all the websites you mentioned. I remember listening to this podcast once, which said, the biggest innovation of the year we used to wait for is the next iPhone launch. And now every week, there's something new on Gen AI. And at the speed it is happening, sometimes it gets crazy. So, with so much happening, Anis, and since you were on the spot, I want to ask you one question that has come from the clients. How is COE benefiting your customers at C5i?
No, good. In fact, the amount of conversations we are having in the last 18 months has just been exorbitant, right? Every day, literally, GenAI is the flavor of the month and flavor of the day and flavor of the week as we look at it. What has really helped many of our customers, in fact, we've done significant number of deployments already, is try to be purist in many ways, right? While there is a hype, we've also, and I often call Sushant, you're too pure for everything. We often try to recommend to the customer that, hey, this is what is possible today with everything around in the technology and what is not possible, right? So that the clients have a real like expectation, because with all what is happening from a marketing perspective, right? These interesting videos, uh, the LLM can do this and that, and it definitely expands our imagination. But there is certain things which there are certain limitations. Like I'll give you an example, Mega. There is a lot of interest today in synthetic data. Clients are saying, hey, can we use synthetic data to do this and that, even if we don't have the data? Well, you need some data to use synthetic data to be generating synthetic data. But one of the interesting things which people are not realizing is that synthetic data, while it will help you curb your GDPR, CCPA, your PII, and all your data protection from that perspective, but synthetic data will not protect your organization critical information from a perspective of your secret trades of your business. So that everybody needs to understand that what are the limitations and what are the good outcomes, right? So one is the limitation, but the COE is also able to help clients to understand what would it take to deploy. So what is the change management, because Genia is also asking each one of us to really rethink the ways of working, reimagine what the organization structures will look like, and reimagine what the future of work will look like. So we also have to reimagine. It's not just, again, as I said, there's a new cool hammer come out, let's bring it and let's bring it into our tool set, which we can fix a wall later on. No, you can't treat it that way, especially with GenAI, right? You have to give it its due importance, you have to give it its due respect, and responsibility, ensure that you are able to deploy it within the organization.
Absolutely, like they rightly say, give AI a seat at the table. So, 100%, I'm pretty sure we're, helping our clients achieve that. Since we're talking about C5i, I want to ask one last question, and then we can open the floor for some more audience questions. Anis, what are the plans for FY25, and how is C5i planning to leverage the newer innovations in the coming year?
Vega, somebody asking me an FY25 plan, I'm scared to share that, because there's so much of disruption happening. The last 3 weeks has just been mind boggling, right? Like with all the new innovations coming out, uh, you know, within the last 3 weeks, I can tell you a lot of meditation apps, a lot of mental well-being and physical well-being apps, a lot of translations and apps which can teach you how to learn different languages. They are having a significant threat just in the last 3 weeks, right? So, I'm just pulling out these basic ones. There are more conversations about dating apps and, virtual better half apps, right? All these apps which were there, they are facing a significant threat because of the innovations which have come about. So I would say at a company, we are looking at quarter by quarter rather than putting together these glorious yearly plans with the pace of innovation. So I can tell you within the next 3 months, and we will talk more about these in our LinkedIn Live, like what new we are bringing in. Definitely, there are certain things which are on top of mind. With every innovation, brings in its own sets of positive, but also brings in a certain risk. So, responsible AI is definitely going to be one of the key things which we will continue to do for the next foreseeable future. But in the next quarter, we are going to amp the ante a little bit further. Definitely, we are looking to see how we can, come up with certain uh, frameworks which enable our current teams and our clients to adopt GenAI seamlessly, because deployments do take time and sometimes these are not very cost effective also. So how do you bring that transparency when it comes to cost of deployment in the long run and in the short term? Because everybody feels it's free. It's not. It has a significant cost to it. So that's the second piece which we're working on. And the third piece is right now, with all these new innovations which have come up in the last 3 weeks, okay, how can we adopt and scale them with what's available to general public?
Perfect. And Anis, that's very, very helpful. Like you mentioned, it is, path-breaking developments that are coming out every single day, if not every week. So it's kind of a crazy space to be in. But I'll just cue in one audience question that came in, which is on similar lines. What emerging trends or advancements do you predict will shape the future of Gen AI COEs?
I wish I had that crystal ball, Vega, which I could use to go ahead and predict, what's going to come in. But I would say, one thing which I've been talking recently in the last 3 months, we all, as technology practitioners, have to get very good at library sciences as a skill. Which will help us survive the future of our jobs also. And that's a new skill. As a company, the first piece in our tagline is human, right? So I'm thinking more about human rather than technologies later on, right? We can keep talking about technologies and what's the future. Definitely, as human beings, we also have to get better at library sciences as a practice. And second, which I see, which we already saw, multimodal from the large language models. I'm going to see a multimodal from an infrastructure perspective. Today, everybody is talking about LLMs, right? But how do you bring infrastructure, data, technology, security, humans, all in a multimodal concept which operate seamlessly, have seamless interactions and integrations, which will really help scale things further, right? So that's how I see the future, the interoperability between these factors coming together very seamlessly.
Wow, very interesting, Anis, and thanks for that, perspective. We have a lot of audience questions, so rather than me posing my own question, I think I'll take up some audience questions. Krishna
Please.
Pera has given some due thought to this question, and I'll open it to both of you. How do you build a business case for Gen AI, or did you ever? Do you stumble upon use cases for Gen AI by accident, or do you, do some kind of enterprise-wide due diligence to work out the best use cases for Gen AI, the use cases that deliver the maximum dollar value? So, some detailed thoughts from Krishna here.
No, that's a good, I would say, multiple series of questions. I'll try to answer one each, and Sushant, you can also chime in. We are a services/solutions company, so we don't have dollars lying around everywhere, Krishna. So we have to, every new initiative requires a business case. So we do have a business case. And in fact, as a company, and you will hear that in the coming weeks, we have built a very interesting framework which helps us prioritize uh, our strategy very well, right? I'll not spill the beans here because there's a few things which are being planned in the next 2 to 3 weeks. You will hear about that. So we have a proprietary framework which helps us prioritize. So we do build business cases and we do have a prioritization. I think the next two questions which you asked is, did I wake up on the left side of the bed and got these use cases in mind, or do we, do some due diligence to kind of look at enterprise-wide applicability? To be very candid and transparent, in our experience, we've really not seen an enterprise-wide, application. Yes, there are department wise applications, like an HR may have it, a finance may have it, a sales may have it, a marketing. And there are two types of applications, right? Within that, there is an application of GenAI for that team for their own work, and also for that team to go ahead and work with other people or within the organization. So let's say there is a use case for a sales team. How do they collaborate effectively with marketing or with the demand planning team, right? Or there is a use case where the sales team can themselves be very effective as they collaborate within themselves, right? But having a one use case which services everybody within the organization, the answer is no. I gave an HR example earlier. You may consider that as an enterprise wide, but if you think about it, it's a department use case, right? Uh, so it's an HR department trying to simplify their role and trying to enhance the experience. So that's how you would see it. And how do use cases deliver maximum value? uh, like chatbot is a no-brainer. Today you should not call them chatbots anymore. They are digital agents. They are digital employees for you. You have to start thinking, how do they have an HR policy or no, right? As an organization, they should, because if tomorrow they start hallucinating and they start talking ill to your employees, you may be in a legal suit, right? So you may want to think about, that is there. But there are many use cases, right? Agents or chatbots are not the only use cases. There are many other use cases today which you can think of, which can be there within the organization as part of GenAI. And today, we are doing use cases within supply chain, we are doing within marketing, within creative side, content side, within information dissemination, democratization of insights. So there are so many use cases which we are working on apart from these virtual agents, which are no brainers, to your point.
Perfect. I think, Anis, you really added, a lot of points there to the series of questions. So, Shant, I'll pose this one to you because this has come from Ashutosh from Concept PR. When you mentioned that you want everyone to experience Gen AI and experiment, what kind of a background does a person need to have? Does it require like a technical background?
Okay. See, this is often a lot of misconception people have that the innovation is only for the technologist. Okay,
Right.
it's a team effort, and see, I always believe in the philosophy of rapid prototyping. Whatever crazy idea you have, if you know how to prototype better and faster, then half the battle is already won. You don't even need to write a single line of code. Okay, and I think, in my opinion, everyone should know how to work on Figma and how to work on Adobe XD. In fact, everyone in the company, especially whether you're a product manager, you are an engineer, or you are a business analyst, you are a program manager, everyone should know how to take your crazy ideas and put into simple blocks diagram with a proper workflow, and you should know how the story should stitch together. Okay, so I think you don't need to be a technologist. You should know how to write proper prompts that, with the basic programming skills, you can learn. There is not a very, you don't need to be an advanced skilled person in that particular area. You should know how to build mockups. You know how to uh, also, the third aspect that I always talk about is uh, when you are taking a mock-up of any idea and you are building an experience layer, okay, make sure you have a small team always working alongside you. To do any innovation in today's world, you don't need a big army. You just need 4 5 skills. Okay, you need a designer, you need someone who can, one, work on the front end, you need someone who knows how to leverage the APIs on the back end, can just play with the basic relational databases like the old school MySQL, or maybe some NoSQL database like MongoDB. Okay, you can have, if you have a privilege of having a product manager that brings the product mindset in whatever you do, because it's not a science experiment. Whatever you do, it should have a notion of scale. If you're not building keeping the scale in mind, you will never be able to go out of the lab. You will always be in the lab. Okay. So these are some of the things that I always feel. Start with your UX, front end, back end, and maybe a product manager. Okay. You don't need to invest heavily in having a machine learning eye or AI engineer to start with. You don't need to be a data scientist. Even a full stack developer who knows how to leverage the REST APIs of the LLMs, basics of RAG, should be able to figure it out. You don't need to invest heavily in your initial seed team. Yeah.
Great. I think one important question that has come in, which is particularly for FSI industry. So Mitesh Kothari at Evident, he's asking how to convey to the customers on the usage of open source LLMs, especially for FSI industry.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Because in fact, you not just FSI, you pick any regulated company, any regulated, even you take pharma, you take telecom, you take banking, financial services, insurance, all these are highly regulated. And they will never be a big proponent of open source technologies. They will always go after closed source. And we have seen more and more trend shifting towards where these companies are having exclusive partnerships or exclusive arrangements with companies like OpenAI, with Microsoft, or with Google, and all these large cloud platforms coming up with their enterprise versions of their LLMs, okay, to mitigate this kind of a risk. Now, if your company wants to test the waters out with some of these open sources, I think at a scale, it's going to be very hard to get an acceptance or approval from the C-level suite. You can do small experiments because it gives you, if you're building a business case, of course, it gives you a complete control on your parameters. You know what to tune, how to tune, you know what those parameters are. You have a control, you can trust, you can play with the things behind the scene, and its speed. Cost is a big factor. Your upfront cost, the initial cost, gets reduced significantly because still the API's cost is very high for some of these closed source systems, but eventually it will fall down. I'm sure in the next 2 3 years you will see the API calls are going to be much and much cheaper, okay, in the next 2 3 years. And the more important aspect is the speed. I think it gives you the speed and the support of the community. But still, despite of all these advantages, building a business case to get the buy-in from the C level, it's going to be hard because the penalties are huge. The compliance, the regulators are coming up with new and new policies, new and new frameworks. I don't think it's going to be a very easy journey to go after. I think I would not recommend. Start with your closed source first for the time being, learn from that experience, identify those use cases, and have some good business impact for the C levels to trust you and give you that opportunity to bring the open source in there. Yeah.
Great. I think thank you, Sushant. And we had allocated lesser time, but with so many questions coming in, we have really at top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your times as well, Anis and Sushant. Any parting thoughts, Anis, from you or Sushant from you, for organizations trying to implement GenAI COE at their end, or anything that you would want to add if we've not spoken about it already?
I would say, just a parting thought that we are not going ahead and saying every organization should do it. But at the same time, I will say it is imperative that if you are seriously considering that you need GenAI as a capability and a core competitive differentiation, then approaching it through a COE mindset is the answer and is the only way to go about it. You can't escape it. If you just try to lose it, or just try to go ahead and implement GenAI capabilities or implement it within your organization without having a proper structure and governance and processes around it, you may be calling in for trouble. So that's the only piece I would say. Yeah. Sushant?
Perfect.
Yeah, I will just say two things. As I mentioned in the past, just create a culture of rapid prototyping. Period. Just keep on building prototypes. Keep on. Don't just lock yourself, constrain yourself with your ideation that, oh my God, I don't have skills. At least start building your prototypes. And second thing, don't forget to invest in L&D. Without learning and development, you cannot make it a scalable impact. It will always be restricted to one or two pockets. If the tribal knowledge is equally important to make your models work smarter, but your employees also deserve to learn that how to learn these new technologies and further augment the tribal aspect.
Absolutely. Fostering that culture of learning and learning leading to innovation is so, so important, just like we have it in our organization. So thank you, Anis and Sushant. That was a very, 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 insightful discussion, perspectives from both of you on how we've done it for C5. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people who are in the initial stages or nascent stages of implementing Gen AI or creating a Gen AI COE in their organization or want to do that. So this is very helpful, and I want to take this time because we still have a lot of questions. Please keep sharing your questions, and we will try and send answers on an email to all of you. I want to thank everyone for joining us today and staying till the end. I'm pretty sure you got a new perspective and learned something new. We will be emailing you a recording of this webinar for your reference. And with that said, do feel free to reach out with any questions again at scalewithgenai@c5i.ai. We look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you again, Anis and Sushant.
Thank you.
Bye bye.